Well, this is our final market wrap for 2020, and what a year it's been, as we all know. In 2019, following the federal election, the real estate market really started to rebound strongly, and we had a really strong back half of 2019, and the start of 2020 was looking just as promising, and then of course COVID hit. Since then we've been on a roller coaster like everyone right across the Australian community and right around the world for that matter. And just to recap on that quickly, we had obviously a lot of issues when we first started back in March and April, but what we did see was the market came back quite strongly as we seemed to be getting on top of COVID, as we were feeling more confident about the market. And the real estate market during April, May and June was actually on the rise again. Volumes were good, prices were quite good, and things were looking like they were back on track. And then of course we had the second wave here in Melbourne in particular and across Victoria where we went into lockdown. And that meant that the market then took a big dive. And from July onwards, we then saw a decline in activity. Prices stayed fairly stable because the supply was quite low. We still had lots of buyers out there. And then we got to August the 5th. And on August the 5th, we then had a complete lockdown of the industry where there were no private inspections able to continue. And for the first couple of weeks, we saw market activity did actually continue. People concluded sales and purchases that they were working on at the time. But then after that first week or two of August, it really started to die away. At that point, the industry came together and we lobbied government and worked very closely with government to get a great outcome where we could then get back to private one-on-one inspections safely from the 28th of September. And from then on, the market has rebounded really well. As you might recall, earlier in the year, there were some predictions that prices could fall by up to 32%. And that just has not happened. We did see some falls of around 5%. But since then, the market activity has returned really strongly and it's now back at full throttle. In fact, the REIV Residential Market Index at the beginning of December was at its highest level ever of 143.1, which means it is 43.1% up on the baseline price of December 2016. In addition to that, auction clearance rates have also remained at very high levels, and for most weeks they've been around 80%, which indicates a very strong market. In fact, the average for November was 81.1%. The number of sales has also increased dramatically, and right across Melbourne and Victoria now, we're actually selling more homes for higher prices than we were at the same time last year. On top of that, the number of days on market is sitting at about 32 days, which is the lowest number of days on market in the country other than Hobart. So right now we think the Melbourne and Victorian real estate market is in really great shape as we head to the end of the year. Well, of course, it's always difficult to predict with accuracy, but let's have a look at some of the key indicators to see what might be going to happen over the next 12 months. As I mentioned already, some of the key numbers are auction clearance rates sitting at 80% and better. Number of days on market is sitting at 32 days right now, which is very low. And the REIV index on pricing is sitting at 143.1, which is its highest level ever. In addition, the economic recovery is underway with the Reserve Bank predicting GDP growth of around 5% for 2021 and a further 4% for 2022. The employment outlook is also much stronger with the unemployment rate down to 7.1% in Victoria, which is still higher than we would like of course, but definitely heading in the right direction. And that is on the back of an increase in the participation rate. The demand for mortgages is also very strong, with CoreLogic research telling us there's a 27.4% lift in mortgage activity in December, and the ANZ Consumer Confidence Index rose to 111.2 last weekend, which is the highest level for 2020. The time to buy a dwelling confidence index also rose to 132, and that's the highest level seen since November 2013. And finally, the ANZ Bank, in their latest forecast, predicted a 7.8% price rise for Melbourne dwellings in 2021. So when you take all of those key indicators into account, I think that points to a really strong first half for the real estate market in 2021. And we know that there are a lot of unsatisfied buyers as we get to the end of 2020 who'll be back in the market looking to purchase over the first month or two in particular. There are bound to be some bumps along the way, but overall, I think the Melbourne and Victorian property market is definitely headed in the right direction. Finally, from all of us at Barry Plant, we wish you and your loved ones a very merry and a very safe festive season, and we all look forward to a new year with a much brighter outlook ahead.